Hello, everyone, and I hope you're having a great day. Welcome back for another episode of the Chem Valley Show. This is episode number 14, and I'm really excited to have my guest join me today. We played baseball together growing up. We went to the same high school together, and I've had a lot of fun watching him throughout his baseball journey, and now the journey he's on right now, which is something we're going to talk all about today. Joining me now, my good friend, Julian Service. How's it going, Julian?
Hey, man. Good. How are you?
Not too bad. How are things?
Good, man. Living life, enjoying every day, making the most of what I can.
I see you doing a lot of biking and stuff. I see you posted this a little while ago. The tour to lockdown has begun.
Yeah, man. I try to make the most of last lockdown. Of course, it was summertime. Everyone wanted to get outside. Being that before I'd worked at Sport Check, I was in the bike shop fixing bikes. So I started off with just buying, a cheap bike, get going, start riding.
Is that kind of how you got into it?
Yeah, well, working on bikes there, it was just, a habit. And then I had a buddy who, Austin Blaze.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he was like, hey, let's do the Blue Water Sprint Triathlon. And I was like, okay, sure. Why not? Something to try. So he's like, we need to get bikes. So before the lockdown, right on the last minute, I was like, let me pick up a bike quick. So sure enough, I get this bike. I start riding it so much, it starts falling apart on me. I got to fix it every day. I got to, tighten the crank. So I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. So I end up investing in a better bike. And then from there, the journey began and I just started riding every day, 6 a.m. starts and enjoying the sunrise, the nice cool mist in the morning when you go out for a ride. It made the day just feel so much better,
For sure. Is it always how did you was it always something that you loved or
well,
where did you find the passion for it?
As a kid, we're always riding our bikes around town. I mean, it's a small town. Nobody's going to give me a ride anywhere. If I was going to the bridge to go jump off at the bridge, we're going to go, ride our bike downtown. Yeah. Right. So there was.
He's talking underneath the bridge for all people in other cities. He's not jumping off of the bridge.
So for those who are from Sarnia, they know what we mean. But definitely got into it a lot and enjoyed, the scenery, just being in the moment, being in the environment. And it became almost like meditation for me. So obviously it's a great workout to get outside. And once you have company with you and good friends, it makes it all the better.
What was you said the first competition you did was the Blue Water one? So
that's what we were planning to do, right? Mm-hmm. So we were planning to enter into this and then possibly do like the Grand Fondo. Mm-hmm. So with all the lockdown stuff, all that stuff got shut down. Oh. And, we just started riding now just to keep fit and just keep enjoying the journey. So we started out just noobs, just going out, riding, not looking like anything professional or anything. And then as we progress through now, people would be like, man, like you're so serious into it. Right. So
yeah, for sure. I've had a lot of fun watching you do it, man. Like, I've seen you did something really positive throughout the lockdown as well. You did like a charity, you raised some money for,
yeah, man. Big thing. Like if you're going to be out doing something on your bike or going out doing an activity, if there's a cause you can donate towards and make a little bit of a difference, you might as well lead into it. Right.
So especially right now, there's not much going on, right? Like you might as well do something positive with.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Like for me, I've had one of my good friends who I played baseball with was one of my roommates at school. He passed away from testicular cancer. Crazy thing, like cancer is such a terrible thing. I just lost my grandma to cancer. So it's affecting everyone and it's always around us. So the more we can help and come together as a community and spread that joy and love and give some support, the more that we can, better what we can.
For sure. And you talked a little bit about baseball there, which we're going to get into that. Dude, when did we meet? We met, I forget, did we play on a team together or were we just always playing against each other? I can't remember. Well, I want to say we played on Sarnia Paving Stone back in the day, but I can't remember.
I feel like we played on. Did you play with the Hawks?
No, I never. No, I didn't play travel until I went to Corona. So I think we played against each other once when you played for the Hawks.
Yeah, it would have been somewhere around that age, like 11, 12.
I do remember we played House League, though, because I remember us always
that was when we were real young, like 7.
Oh, 8. Yeah. But I knew back then that you were going to be something special, like always the league MVP, always playing like unbelievable. Let's talk all about like your baseball career and whatnot. Like, after high school and whatnot, I didn't really know what direction you were going in, and you ended up going to what was it, Southeastern Illinois?
Yeah,
Louisiana.
Well, with going back to high school, like I was going to St. Pat's, right?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, to get anywhere with the sport, at that time it was still growing in Ontario. Obviously, there was programs, but you had to go towards Toronto or Windsor, the bigger cities, right? Even like Lumley in London with the Badgers, right?
Right.
It's just because you need to see competition. You need to see the kids in the States, or else you're not going to grow. You need to get better, right? So I switched high schools in second semester, grade 11, and I went to Sinclair High School in Whitby. So I lived there for about 2 years, played with Team Ontario, and then played with the Ontario Blue Jays. So that's where I really got a lot of development. I got a lot better coaching, the whole fitness, working out. That became a whole lifestyle then. Yeah. And then from there, because of, unfortunate things, I ended up going to school, even though I got drafted and I wanted to go play pro ball. But to me, school was a great thing still. At the time, I only wanted to go play pro ball, but I got convinced that, there's better opportunities sometimes to go to school, get a little bit of an education. You're still playing, you're still getting better. So I chose to go to Texas first, where I went to Northeast Texas. But unfortunately, my coaches at Ontario Blue Jays, they didn't really set me up with, I'd say, the most best niche for me to go to as a school. Okay. The coach was a little bit young, arrogant, and it was kind of his way or the highway. And for someone like me, I just kind of need someone to just guide me and let me grow and not try to like completely change me to their philosophy.
Right.
So that was the first learning curve of how to dealing with, an obstacle like a coach that's your leader or your boss kind of thing, that you kind of have to do what they say, even though in the background you don't want to kind of do it.
So you got drafted right from the Ontario Blue Jays?
Yeah, so I got drafted by the Baltimore Orioles out of high school.
What was that feeling like?
It was crazy.
You played like Ontario Blue Jays. That's different than Team Ontario because you played for Team Ontario as well, right?
Yeah, so Team Ontario, it's an organization as well that competes against Ontario Blue Jays. And then there's technically Team Ontario. That's like the Ontario Cup team that will go against the other provinces. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy. Mm-hmm. But everyone on my team was all the guys that are on the other Team Ontario. So it's all the same.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I went from there and then went to JUCO, which is 2-year school, of course, in Texas. And I was in the middle of nowhere, man. I'm going from being in the big city to farm to market road 75, like Walmart 6 miles down the road. We only got a cafeteria. If you want anything, you got to drive into town. I don't have a vehicle, so I always had to, hop in with a roommate or something.
Was that a culture shock for you?
Oh man, we had a rodeo team. We had cows in the back, like it was like even the dorms were almost like a jail. Like it was kind of like big box. So it was, it was definitely some tears for my parents leaving me there. They were definitely a little shocked too, because I didn't get a chance to go visit because of last minute things. But it was a great experience to learn, grow.
You're playing baseball in the summer and you don't have time to go check out schools.
Well, with everything that happened for me, I was expecting to sign and go play pro, but then things got delayed through other guys ahead of me in the draft that they had to sign contracts or figure out what they needed to do, and they kept pushing my contract back. So they waited till the last day, which was like August 15th, to give me an offer. And I had already been signed to a junior college, but it wasn't like I had focused on the school. So I might not have really picked the best place for me, talked to the coach, It was all my coaches. Talked to this coach and said, hey, here you go. Kind of like a last minute thing. So it was definitely not the best place for me, but it was a great place to learn. Everywhere you go, you can learn. And I still had a great time with my 2 other teammates from Ontario Blue Jays, Jason, who passed away, and then Cooper, 2 great guys. It made the transition a lot better having some people I already knew there with me. We kind of were just a big gel together. We always hung out, ate, worked out, everything. So it was a good time there. And then, once you started getting used to the area and the people, it became a lot better than I expected. It was just kind of the first time jitters.
Talk us a little bit through the Baltimore Orioles situation. Like, what was that like communicating with them? While knowing you're going to school and whatnot, like talk us like all through that process and like what kind of like you said they gave you an offer. What kind of offer were they giving you?
All right, so when I got drafted, the original offer was $100,000 and then school. And 100%, I was like, yes, for sure. Because at that time in my head, I was like, all I wanted to do was this.
Yeah.
And for some reason, about a week later, I get a call from the area scout, and he goes, due to our scouting director being fired, we actually have the new scouting director wanting to see all these guys that are past a certain round. We want you to be seen by a cross-checker again to verify that we're going to give you this amount. So I had already been like celebrating, visiting family. I gave my uniform back to my coaches. I'm not even playing anymore because I don't want to get hurt. And sure enough, here I am. I got to come back, start playing again with the team, which is okay. I mean, at the time, that's what I love to do. And it was just a little bit of a, shock of what's going on. Is this kind of like, a made up thing? So start getting back into it. We go down to Tennessee. Cross-checker comes, checks me out, says everything's good. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna put in a good referral for you. You deserve what you were offered. So I rolled with it. And then sure enough, a couple of weeks later, I still don't hear a phone call. We go to Miami for another tournament. So I'm talking to my advisor agent. And they can't be your agent until you're technically signed. So he's an advisor.
Right.
And I'm waiting. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, they keep saying everything's good. Money's not an issue or something like that. And he's like, I don't know. I'm pushing. So go through the tournament, good tournament, come home, still waiting. And it's deadline day. So I'm literally walking through Lambton Mall with my buddy Austin. And I get a phone call from my advisor. And he goes, so they actually changed the offer. And he's like, I really don't think you should sign for it because you're a better player than they're giving you, and go to school, get better, and get drafted again. So I really, thought hard about that at the time. And so many people are on you about what to do, like especially about money and all that stuff. And when you're 18, 17, you think only things about, like if I get this money, I can do this and this. You're thinking too naive and a little bit too arrogant, right?
For sure, yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, I'll go to school and then I'll get more money. So I turned it down. And the funny thing is I actually just changed my mind last minute. I was like, you know what? This is what I really want to do. If you really want to do it, do it. Don't go, down to school. And if you get hurt or something, then the opportunity's gone. So I went to make the choice. Sure enough, my advisor said, well, the deadline's done. We passed 4:30 on the day, and they'd shut down all contracts. So I had no choice. Now I'm going to school. So it was like a big drama with my parents and my family and everything like that. So it was a hard experience to go from, going through the jitters, going to the high, going back to reality, then just going to a little bit depressed, but then realizing, all right, I can still go to school. I can still get better, make the better of the situation, and just have fun with it. So that's what I did. And that got me to my first JUCO. But then because it was last minute, sometimes I always recommend to any kids out there who are getting into baseball that you go visit the school, you talk to the coach, you make sure they're on the same wavelength of what you're trying to get out of yourself. Because you can go places in the States, it could be the best school ever. But if it doesn't fit what is meant for you to grow, it's not going to help you grow. So, I know guys that could went to LSU, but maybe that's not the best place for them, right? So it's all a learning curve. And through that process, I grew a little bit. I think I got humbled as well, and realizing you're just another number. You're not nothing special. There's a lot of kids out there that are playing baseball that are really good. So it changed my mindset, right? And it started bringing me back down to earth and start just, stay with the process, go back to working hard and see what happens at school. But then, of course, with a coach that was kind of very arrogant and, pretty much a yes sir, no sir kind of guy. And unfortunately, with some coaches in the States, that's kind of how they are. They're very rah-rah. They cheerleading and all this antics, but realistically, I'm there just to play. I've never been a huge cheerleader. So we kind of bumped heads on that. And of course, being a perfectionist and I already knew how I had a track record of, being established and being good and drafted. It was still in my head. So at times, if I rolled over on a ball, popped up on a ball, I should have squared up. I got a little angry and I kind of wasn't the best teammate. So that as well didn't add on to him liking me anymore. So I played, I think, 6 games in the season, and I ended up getting ejected from a game because I was in an at-bat that I think I had like 20 pitches in the at-bat. I fouled off like 12. And the umpire ends up bringing me up on a slider that's like this far off the plate. And I pull a Bryce Harper move, and I drew a line where the ball went, and the ump instantly tossed me. And we were losing at the time to the team by like 5 runs. So I ended up, coming out of the game, and my coach comes up to me just fired up, like, why would you do that, all this stuff? And I'm like, well, I had fought through the at-bat. It was a terrible call. You haven't said nothing all game to defend us at the plate. Like, I'm standing up for us because someone's got to say something, because he was making bad calls all game.
Yeah.
My hitting coach and I, the funny part is we molded like 2 peas in a pod, and that's another story after. But for some reason with the head coach, it just didn't mesh. So because of that, he took it really to heart, and he decided to remove me from the team. So people were shocked. My parents were shocked. For planning to come down and visit, right, and come watch. And sure enough, after about 6 games, you're removed. So that completely threw my eligibility for my freshman year. So if I wanted to even redshirt and go somewhere else, that's gone. So 1 year completely wasted.
Wow.
Yeah. So all I got to do was train and go to class, and then hang out with my roommate and some other guys that were in the dorm area. And
what were you studying?
At the time, I was taking business administration.
Okay.
So, I'd always focused on, when you get somewhere in sports, I wanted to hopefully get to the highest level and then be able to open a facility like Adam Stern did in London, right, with Centerfield.
Yeah,
and have the business knowledge to be able to run a business and then give back and coach. So that was my thought process going in. And I always did well in school. That wasn't an issue. But sure enough, kept going through that process, and the coach got a little more lax. At first, he didn't want me working out in the weight room. He didn't want me hanging around with my own teammates. Wow. Like he was going off, and I was just like, man, like, I think you need to relax, because this is not as big as you're making it out to be. I'm here just trying to do my best. I'm a very emotional guy at times when I play sports. I get so competitive. Like, I might be nice and easy right here, but I get on a field, then it's like another switch, right? And I think you have that mode too, right? We all kind of do.
Absolutely.
So I had to at times learn to tone it down and be more even keel, not let the highs go to my head and the lows go to my heart. I used to write that on my hat. So that was, again, it's all part of the learning curve, right? It's what shapes us to who we are now. So I wouldn't go change anything. It was something I learned to be a better teammate, have a little more self-control, enjoy the process a little bit more. Don't be so focused on getting to the next level, being always down the future and the results. Just like, be here right now. So it took me time to get there, but of course, some failures and some learning points and a lot of tears. It got me to where I am now. So that was the first step. And then after training, going through that spring, I ended up getting an offer to go to Howard, which is in West Texas. So I was in East Texas, about 70 miles from Texarkana. And now I went to the complete opposite side of Texas, and it was the best time I ever had. It was, the coaching staff was an older coaching staff. They were more laid back in terms of their approach, but they were still serious and they wanted things done. But they understood how to talk to people, how to have a conversation with you like a friend, take them into the office and, how's your day going? How's things going at home? Like, actually get, some a little bit more sentimental so that you could have a connection. So you'd want to listen to them, and they would have a little more patience with you, and you kind of learn from the process, right? So that was where I went after. But before I went there, that hitting coach I had at Northeast, he was from Kansas. So he had told me, you haven't had any at-bats all this season now. So go to play some summer ball, get some at-bats under your belt. And then when you go to fall ball, you'll be a lot better and a lot more prepped to go into playing with a better JUCO, because they were like #1 in the nation. They've won World Series for JUCO. So all the guys I played with, they were all top level guys. We had a couple guys go in the top 5 rounds of the draft. Wow. Dudes throwing 98 miles from the left side, just nasty, right? So I went to Kansas for a summer, and I went to Junction City, which is just outside of Manhattan, where Kansas State is. So I went there for the summer. It was amazing. Had a great billet family, had great teammates. We had so much fun. We had a limo bus for away games. So it had like disco lights. It had a stripper pole in it. We had fun, man. It's summer ball, so you have your fun, and then guys are cracking a beer after the game, and it was awesome. So it was a good experience. It was good to switch it up from being in a stressful place to having a lot more fun and people enjoying your company and stuff like that. So
for sure,
that was really good, and that got me settled. and back in routine. And then I started really hitting the ball well, and everything started to fall in place. And then once I got to Howard, things started going really well. I started really figuring it out with the bat. I let my natural athleticism kind of take over and just enjoyed the process. But then, of course, just on the last, I'd say 2 weeks in Kansas, I had been working out real heavy, man. Like I was doing way too much chest and not stretching enough. So I was fortunate enough that God gave me an arm. And what happens is, of course, if you don't do enough mobility and you get very tight, you can blow things in your arm. So I was doing long toss one day. And the day before, we were playing catch with a guy, and the wind was kind of light, not really too bad. And from the foul line, I hucked it all the way over the right field fence. And the guy was like, you know, it was kind of a thing that, you know, oh, blah, 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 serve's got an arm. So I again, let it go to my head. So the next day, the wind's blowing in. So one of my teammates is like, I bet you can't do it again today, into the wind. So I take a huge curl hop. As soon as I released the ball, my elbow just went popped.
Oh, no.
And it was like an instant knife jab. My heart sank. I automatically knew something was wrong because as soon as I went to move it, it was like completely in pain. So then everyone was like, you know, when you go into that shock mode when everyone's having fun and everyone's like, whoa, this is serious. So then I ended up had to rest and ice and stuff like that. And I only got to DH from there because hitting was fine. They did the whole UCL test on me and everything, and it didn't seem torn. But down the road, I later found out that it was a micro tear, and I had stress fractures through my elbow that made everything weaker and all this stuff.
Is that team you were wearing like the Kansas City Royal jerseys with?
That was in high school when I went to Kansas City's field. So I went to a pre-draft workout for the Royals.
Oh, no way, wicked. So is that the same thing here with Boston?
That's with the Brantford Red Sox.
Oh, no way.
Mm-hmm.
So was that when you came home, or?
That was when I came home second summer from Howard. Okay. My advisor got me. Mike Bonanno was my advisor, and he was the team manager or GM for Brantford Red Sox. And he's like, "Hey, come play some games," because I mean, it's a lot of good baseball in the IBL, right? Oh, yeah. So it was good enough to get at bats and see some good pitching and stuff like that. So that was that, which is funny because a lot of people thought I was playing for the Red Sox, and I was like, no, it's the Brantford Red Sox. But they look nice, right? Because
had me fooled.
Yeah, it was nice. And then my red glove is actually from Howard. So we were red and black and white. So perfect. It just worked out.
That's awesome.
But it was definitely interesting through JUCO. And then going through the arm injury, which I had to start rehabbing. And I had some great team trainers. They found doctors that cut me deals where, you know, an MRI over there in the States, if you have no insurance, is like $1,500 for one MRI. So,
wow. And they don't cover that from the teams?
Yeah. So there's no coverage from a junior college team to get an MRI because I'm not American, so I don't have my parents' insurance unless my parents have international insurance. But that only covers if I was in an emergency, like in the hospital. So they don't cover things for orthopedic or things like that. Yeah. So I ended up getting cut a lot of deals so that I could figure out what was wrong. And sure enough, they told me that I had micro tears and stress fractures and stuff, and I had to heal it and do certain things. So went through the whole rehab protocol, built my arm back up. I think that was my first cortisone shot too, is when I got that then. And everything started coming back slowly. The springtime, I would have, you know, I'd throw a ball here and there and it would a little bit ache, and then I'd throw hard again and it was nothing. It was great. So I was like, oh, you know, I mean, it must be getting better. So went through the spring into the summer, and, you know, we had a great season. We started out the season, I think, like 18-1 or something. I mean, we were beating every junior college in Texas, every junior college in New Mexico. Like, we were going on a tear. We had a great team. I was fortunate to play with them. A lot of All-Americans were on the team. And that was probably my best statistical year in college. I think I hit like 425 overall in conference. And
oh, wow.
Led the league in runs and stuff like that. Like, it was just so much fun. And in Texas where I was, the ball flies because West Texas is all like flat desert. You see like a bunch of cotton fields and a bunch of moving oil pumps. That's all you see.
Lots of dingers?
Yeah. For me, I think I ended up hitting like more triples than I did dingers. I had a line drive approach. I started off as a leadoff hitter, and because my average went up, I ended up being the 3-hole hitter, but I was just consistently drive gaps. And if I hit it out, it went out. My coaches told me stick to that approach. As you get older and better, line drives will turn into home runs, right? Sure. So I just kept staying with that theory, and it worked. So that got me drafted again. But the funny part was I got drafted out of Northeast too. So that was my third time getting drafted.
Yeah.
But it was all some craziness too with the whole draft situation. So second time I got drafted, I went to a pre-draft workout in Canada when I got home, and the scout who drafted Joe Mauer for the Minnesota Twins absolutely loved me. I had known him since I was like 16. He had seen me fill out a little bit. My swing was starting to get better, my hand speed. And he was like, man, you know, like, keep an eye out for us. I think there's a chance maybe late in the rounds we'll try and pick you up. So they picked me up in the 37th round, and they were saying like they were going to offer like 50 grand in school. And I was like, 100%, let's do it.
Yeah.
So seeing now from 65, which was the offer got cut down to on my 100, you know, that was a better offer than I got all my times through, because what happened is my first school, seeing that I was not coachable is what scouts were told, being kicked off the team. A lot of scouts didn't want to put a good name on me. So it ended up ruining me for getting drafted. It's not saying my talent level or anything. It was literally like, oh, you know, he's a little bit this and this. He's hard to coach, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. So they see so many kids that, you know, can run sub-7 and throw this and do that.
Politics in sports.
And it's politics, right?
Yeah.
So, and it didn't help. You know, I did get to face some racism at that first school. Like, we had other African-American kids on the team, and they weren't even allowed to practice. He would make up excuses that, you know, there wasn't.
This is the coach you had problems with?
Yeah, this is the coach.
I was going to ask, like, was there any, like, did you ever face any of that type of, like, especially being in Texas, did you face any of that?
That was probably, like, the people-wise, some people would just give you looks, right?
Yeah.
Like, they just kind of look at you like they don't like you or something, and who cares? You don't have to like me. So I wasn't too bothered. But in terms of how he treated us, there was two guys on the team. I won't ever say names, but they were sophomores. They were already committed to a Division I. They were both catchers. One was the son of a major league catcher. His brother was in AAA with the Dodgers as a catcher. And he's the golden boy. I mean, you know, whatever. He could throw stuff. He could, you know, toss things. He could go about anything you want, and the coach would just love him. But if I came in and dropped my helmet just like a little bit too hard, he was ripping me a hole. So one day in that time, he ripped me a hole for doing that. I rolled over on a ball, and I just kind of like, in JUCO, there's no like necessarily helmet racks. It's just like a big bag of helmets, just like when we're playing back home.
Oh, yeah.
So I dropped my helmet on the bag, and he screams at me to pick it up and put it down the right way and stuff. And I literally called him out. I'm like, so you're telling me that for me, drop my helmet a little bit too rough when I'm supposed to be upset that I rolled over on a ball that I hit? You don't want me to be, you know, a little bit more conscious that to hit that ball, you want us to be winners, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't think Michael Jordan's going to be too happy if he misses a shot and he comes in. He's not going to be smiling, right? So it's just the idea of when you're competitive, you think a little different. But I called out how they were, you know, being able to do whatever they want, and threw them under the bus, and I didn't really care because they were getting away with anything they want. And he pretty much grabbed my shirt, pulled me, and he pretty much said, you only say yes sir and no sir to me, and like, don't ever say this thing to me again if you ever want to play again, and blah, blah, blah. And that was the first time I really got called. He was calling me boy and stuff like that, and I was like, all right, this is different. I mean, you know, he's from Texas, went to school at Oklahoma. He was 30 years old. He's a young guy. He's not much older than us, right? So that situation was definitely eye-opening to a lot of that whole race stuff, because really here I didn't have that issue. Nobody ever second thought about race here. Like, I played with all different types of kids, you know, Latino, Asian, everything. Our coaches never did that. So I was already groomed to being comfortable in a professional manner. So when I got to go through that, it was like, man, this is too much. So he even, like, we had guys on the team that necessarily weren't going to play, but they're still on the team, you know, guys that would practice and get their reps just to be on the bench. And he wouldn't even let them practice. You know what I mean? I've been to Division I practices where we got so many guys, there's way too many guys, and they're never telling them they can't practice. They love it.
Yeah.
So then now you got guys that can come in and save your starter's arm, especially one's a catcher. He was a black guy. He's a catcher. You want to save your two best catchers' arms for, you know, while they're doing other stuff instead of throwing down a second every 2 seconds, right? So little things like that didn't even make sense. Like, his coaching style didn't make sense. We literally had a AAA player come out to kind of warm up and go through the motions before he went to spring training with his team, with the Oakland Athletics. And he was a mixed guy. And I kind of clinged to him really well because he could tell I had potential, and I'd hit with him and stuff. And I talked to him about some of this stuff. And we had a drill we had to do where we had to run the base from home to first and then go to second. So typically, like we all think, you're going to run, and then halfway down, you're going to start making your curve to go on the grass and turn. So he's telling us, well, Arizona at the World Series, they came up with this great thing where they sprint literally till about 85 feet to the bag, and then the last 5 feet, they make a quick little turn and then go. And I was like, well, maybe in a trick play where they're trying to convince the guys that they're not running the second, they're taking a single. You should have seen how many guys rolled their ankles on day one trying to do that. I did it once. Obviously, I'm athletic enough to break down and do it, but it definitely did not feel natural. It was stupid. Yeah. And he's just soaking in these things because some team in the World Series for NCAA did this, and he thinks it's the best thing. He comes up to the drill. He would join our drills, and he comes in and does the normal professional loop, and we're all just like looking at each other like, if the pro's not doing it, why are we doing it, right? Yeah. So I've always been that guy. Like, look at the guys in the big leagues. They might go a little slower on the field. Yeah, in college you can't do that. They're being paid money, but the way that they play the game and how they do it, they're playing it relaxed but very fast. If anyone goes to a major league game, things happen like this. For sure. So, but the guys are moving in a smooth manner, right? So it's a relaxed fast. And that's how I learned how to play. So that's how I wanted to play. But to him, it had to be rah, 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 and you had to be like your head's flying off and stuff like that. So it was crazy. So that. How
did you get into baseball? Like, I remember when we were a kid, like your dad was always a huge supporter of you. Like, how did you get into it and whatnot?
Well, it was definitely my parents, right? Like when I'm 4 years old, I just play. I just go out and run, right? So I started in like soccer and I started in baseball. And then I guess I took off in baseball. I did very well. Like even in T-ball, apparently I didn't even want to hit off the tee. I told the coach to throw it to me. Like stuff like that. So my parents got me into it. My dad loved it because he bought our first big screen TV, the one with the huge back on it, absolute heavy TV, for the 92 World Series, I believe, or the 92 World Series for the Blue Jays. Yeah. So he bought his big TV right out of the Sears catalog, super pumped. So the next year I was born. Of course, they win it again. And then down the road, 4 years later, he decided, hey, let's put me in baseball. At that time, the Blue Jays are still a popular thing, just kind of like 2016, how everyone wanted to go back into baseball. Now the Blue Jays made it to the playoffs. It's just kind of a fad. So I went into it, and from there, man, just kept playing. And down the road, I got to the point where I loved it. Like I'd ride my bike to the park with like Wade Loxton, Anthony Shepard, guys you all know, and we'd go to the park at Arrow Russell and just crank balls. And then if we wanted to feel like we were good, we'd go to the small field where the Hawks play and try to hit dingers off there. Right? And have fun there. So it was always kind of just a go out and have fun. But then as you get older and it becomes more serious and it becomes like you're working towards a career, the pressure starts coming on, you add your own pressure, and then that's where the mental health things start kicking in. And if you don't know how to just kind of enjoy it and have fun like you're a kid, like say like Mike Trout does and gets paid millions of dollars to do it being a kid, then it's like the hardest thing you could ever do because you take every failure to heart and, you keep riding this roller coaster. You get on buses one day and you're the best guy, you're high-fiving everyone, you're happy, and then you go 0 for 5 or 0 for 10 or 0 for 15 on a slump. And you're not even talking to nobody. You don't want to look at anyone. You're the worst teammate ever. So you can't ride that roller coaster. It just kills your emotions because, people say leave it on the field. But when you're competing and you're in school and you have, say, 40 games to show yourself and each game's ticking away and you're like, well, this is another opportunity I missed or this is an opportunity. You keep looking on the wrong side instead of the positive side or what you need to do or just it's a game and have fun. Yeah. Not a big deal. Life goes on. Then you take it very to heart. And I was that type of person where I had that idea of, put all your eggs in one basket. Everyone told me, no need for plan B. If you make a plan B, then you're not going to get plan A because you're not fully invested. So I put all my eggs in one basket. And of course, down the road, that's going to affect your head when it doesn't pan out as you expected. That's kind of the thing with the North American culture where we are privileged, as kids and a lot of people don't ever get kind of told no. Obviously, I had failure growing up, but being a better athlete, I was used to, succeeding and doing well and having people kind of praise me. So again, that was just a humbling curve and something to grow and get a chip on my shoulder to learn how to be better and deal with situations better. And from there, yeah, it kind of molded me into who I am now. So again,
when did that journey end in the States? Like for your baseball career, say, like, was it when you came home and played for Brantford, or?
So Brantford, that was 2014.
Okay.
So then after that, I went to Southeastern Louisiana University. That's where, that was where I played there for 2 years. Now, that was an interesting story because now I'm at the bigger school setting. We were a mid-major D1, so we'd play out of conference at LSU or Lafayette Raging Cajuns.
Wow.
Yeah, we got to play against Vanderbilt, Tennessee, like all the big schools we got to play.
That's awesome.
Some of them we got close to beating. A few of them we beat. But of course, you get to be in a different atmosphere where you're seeing thousands of people in the stands.
Oh, yeah.
So our school held maybe 2,000 max for our school. And we'd usually bring in an average about 1,000. So at JUCO, we were seeing maybe 5. So now you're in front of 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. You know, you got a lot more peers there and parents and stuff. And you get sort of accustomed to what a professional lifestyle would be like and being in front of the pressure, right? So that was a good learning curve. My average dropped a little bit because I started seeing better breaking balls. JUCO, you see a lot of fastballs, right? Guys are trying to beat you with fastballs, and they're leaving it a little bit over the plate. You get to college, you're getting scouting reports. You got coaches that are telling guys to, throw things here and there and here and there. And it's a lot more chess. You start getting into better baseball. Yeah. So my average dropped my junior year to about 275, led the conference in runs, scored still, played every game pretty much. And we ended up winning the conference. So that was a ring I got. That was pretty cool. And the year before, they had got a ring for winning the conference tournament. So the team was doing well. The coaching staff was pretty young. We had our head coach was 30. Our assistant coaches were 26 and 29. So they're all young coaching staff. And again, it was coming into a situation where it was kind of like a rah-rah university style. Because there is that. Because obviously when you go to a smaller D1, when you go to play the big schools, they kind of got the talented kids that can just roll out there and rake. Whereas sometimes we have to be a little bit more gritty. Like you got to take a, hit by a pitch, and then you got to, maybe a push bunt, and then, someone's got to run and hit. You got to be a little more gritty. Whereas the other team might just drive the ball, lay a bunt, drive the ball. So it's a different baseball. So the coaching mentality, I understand it now. But at the time, I still wanted to be like I'm playing at LSU, where it's just go on the field, swing out of your shoes, play the game, and kind of do that thing. So that was, again, a learning curve there. But I had the opportunity to go work out with the Marlins in Miami. So that was amazing. I got flown into Miami, went onto the park, probably one of the nicest parks I've been in just because of how it's set with the windows and everything. It's amazing. Right. So, I've been fortunate to be able to go to a lot of big league parks and go on and play. So that's been a cool experience for sure. And, that didn't end up working out, I guess, because I didn't play. Again, I think there was about 6 games that my coach, I ended up being too pouty or something like that. I ended up getting pulled from a game, going 0 for 3, and there was a matchup that we wanted to put a lefty versus a righty instead of me. So I got pulled, and I got a little pouty about it, thinking to myself, man, that should be me hitting right now. I should be that guy. Yeah. So being, again, my old self, here, you don't change that fast, right? So it's only been a couple of years. I got better, but there's still those times where if it didn't go my way, I wasn't the best teammate. I couldn't just smack the next guy on the butt and be like, all right, get the job done. I couldn't do it yet. Yeah. So, of course, I had got sat for a few games throughout the season, and scouts seen it as well, why didn't this kid play the whole time? Why didn't he play the whole season if he's getting, talked about? Because I was fortunate that the scout who took me there was a major league scout. So he scouts the guys in AAA that go to the big leagues. So he really liked me. He lived a couple houses down from our park, and he would always come and watch. So he really liked me. He's like, man, you just got to figure out your hitting. Because at that time I was not hitting the breaking ball really well. They wouldn't pitch me fastballs. If they gave me fastballs, I was ripping it. But if it was, really good sliders, really good changeups, I'd roll over, pop up, or, do something. So he's like, you just need to get that better, and you can play the outfield, you can run, that's no problem, but you got to figure out the hitting because you can't get to that level of, the bigs if you're not obviously hitting that type of pitching. So they still didn't want to draft me at the time. So I chose to come back as a senior. And that was probably the best season I started having as feeling myself. I felt like I was a leader. I felt confident at the plate. It doesn't matter if I was breaking ball this, I was ripping it. I was, had a over 300 average to start the season, and everything was going well. Everyone around me is like, oh, like, you're online for drafting. I'm getting interviews. Like the whole thing starts coming too fast.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I go through a game. I go 0 for 3, and I get pouty again. But now I'm a senior. I'm supposed to be a leader of the team. And I take my cleats off, throw my turfs on, throw my hoodie on, and I kind of just stand there. And I'm just, to me, standing there, I'm just pondering in my head. I don't think I'm being a bad teammate, but after looking at it, I am, because you have to go pick up that next guy. You got to go cheer on that next guy because it is a team sport. So, of course, again, getting better. But that one situation, because I had instances where it happened a couple times, that was kind of his last straw, apparently, with me. So that was my second school that I got kicked off the team. So now I got another coach who's 30 years old, who's, his way or the highway. He's a rah-rah guy, happens to be just like the first school. Better coach, more understanding of baseball, but similar kind of personality. And we bunked heads. I was the type of guy, I worked harder than everyone. My goal was work like, you're hungry, because there's kids from Puerto Rico, there's kids from Dominican that are literally hungry. Like I met Carlos Correa. I met him at the Royals workout, and very down to earth. And then I saw him again down the road at a perfect game workout, and kid's just God-given. But if you hear his story of where he's coming from, his parents work 2 jobs. They're taking buses at 4 a.m. to go to the academy. I mean, it's a grind.
Oh, wow.
And you respect why.
Yeah, of course. I was going to actually ask you that. Like, were there some guys along the way, like, inspirational stories?
I played against Alex Bregman. I played against Lance McCullers. I played against, who else is a big name? Well, of course, Carlos Correa. We played against, what's his name? Pitcher for the Chicago White Sox. Played with the Orlando Scorpions. What's his name again now? Right-handed pitcher, wears glasses, young kid. He's probably about 27, 28 now. But he was draft year 2012 like me. But I remember just, at the time, you don't think anything of it. They're just another guy, right? And then once you hear the draft goes and you said, hold on, did I just hear so-and-so's name in the second round or the first round? And you realize, oh, that guy was really good, right? They're the next level guys. So, when you get to meet them, you can tell, like, everyone where we were was really good, but then there's still that next tier where those guys are just on another level. Everything they do, their bat speed, the sound off the bat's a little bit more pop. The way they run their 60s a little bit faster, like everything's a little smoother. It's just more refined, right? They're already a little more professional. So that was cool to, meet a lot of those guys. And now down the road, I look back and I'm like, I probably could have been like one of those guys, but again, it would have been, I needed to work on certain things. I had to keep with the grind. I'd have to get Tommy John surgery, because at that point I couldn't, by the time I was in my 4th year of university, it ended up, my arm just kept getting a little bit more sore again. It turned like a revolver. Like I couldn't even play catch sometimes in between innings, because I was like,
lucky you weren't a pitcher.
Yeah, if I was a pitcher, it'd be done. A long time. But it was just because of how I threw my mechanics. Like being an outfielder, I didn't throw here. I threw more way up here. But my ball was like this, and it would kind of rise, right? So it worked well for me my whole career. Yeah. But that puts a lot more stress on the elbow versus being here as a labrum guy. This is where you hurt your shoulder down here, right? So I ended up getting so much elbow issues that if I would throw too much, I couldn't even squeeze my hand hard enough to make sure my bottom or my top hand was staying on the ball when I'm hitting. So not only was it now affecting my defense, but it was also affecting my hitting, which if you're not playing defense, you better hit. Like if you're not, if you can hit, they'll put you somewhere. But, unless you're playing amazing defense, they might put you in center field and put you as a leadoff guy if you're really fast. Other than that, you got to be able to do kind of everything on the field.
So when's all this going down? Like
that would be
kind of the end of
2015 was my junior year. 2016 was my senior year. So then go through the season. As I said, I got removed from the team, and it was a weird situation because down the road after, they're always like, oh, maybe we made the wrong decision, but it's like a month later and it's already made. So it's not like anyone's going back on their choice. Right. So now I'm focused on me again. So I'm just working my butt off, going to the gym, swinging, getting everything I can for like a pre-draft workout that I've been to before. And I end up getting to come back home, and I played with the Sarnia Braves, and ended up going for, there's the winning season. And ended up coming home and I took it for a joke, right? Because I'm like, no big deal. I'm just going to come home, have fun with the guys. At first, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to play. I was like wondering, should I just, shut her down because of my arm? And then I was like, you know what? I probably should still keep going after it because I know I can play. So obviously Randall, Damchuk, those types of guys, they really encouraged me to keep going, and that, potentially I could go to Southern Illinois, the minors, which is where they played pro ball. So it's an independent team in Illinois, and really good team. So down the road, after I played with the Braves, I ended up like just tearing the ball off the cover. I mean, you go from seeing 90 plus with great off speed to, senior baseball in Ontario. I mean, there's good arms that you'll see at a Limbs maybe, or a few good ex-pro guys. But you're not going to see every day someone putting it on you. So I was tearing the ball up, and I was getting a lot more comfortable. I was really feeling comfortable with my swing. I started, It was like everything clicked when I came home. I think it was because I relaxed. I didn't put pressure on myself. I just went up to, it doesn't matter, whatever. Who cares if I pop out? So then everything started working better. So if I had that routine back then, who knows what could have happened, right? So ended up being the MVP of the league for Ontario, and they sent my information to the head coach for the Illinois minors. And then I'd got an agent at the time too, to kind of help me in the process and do some drills and some videos to send out to other scouts. And at first I was supposed to go to the Texas Rangers facility in Arizona for a workout. But I ended up getting sick, and I had to be in the hospital for a month. And it was a little bit of like flu, but also I had like mental health issues going on at the same time. It was like a weird thing. So, when I talk to people with what I'm getting into next about my mindset, about mental health, like I know it to the root, to the core, to where I've been in the hospital, in places that most people wouldn't ever want to be. Right. So again, part of the learning curve so that you can get better, stronger, and help other people down the road. Right. So I ended up getting sick right into the time spring training, and all the open camps were coming, because they were just going to send me to a spring training. And if you do well, hey, we give you a jersey number and join spring training. So that didn't happen. So then when I came out of the hospital a month later, I ended up going to Southern Illinois, and I started going through spring training there. But I was on medication and stuff. And for some reason, the medication was giving me anxiety, like really bad anxiety, to where, if I'm hitting and stuff, it was like my depth perception was thrown off. And it was messing with my head. So it was making me all thrown off. My arm starts hurting again, while I'm there. So that's adding more anxiety in my head about playing. Everyone I'm with on the field is either released from AA, the 4th, 5th outfielder from a big Division I. So, I mean, all these kids are like excellent baseball players. So unless I'm at my peak, there's no way I'm going to allow myself to have a starting position or really play. Right. A hurt baseball player, I don't care if you're Mike Trout, you're not going to play against someone that's fully healthy. I'm sorry, you're not. Yeah. So because of that, I went through a little bit of spring training, and then I ended up coming home. And then from there, I played with the Braves again. At that point, I really had shut it down. I was like, you know what? I don't need to do this anymore. Like, it's messing with my head. I just need to get better mentally and focus on something I want to get into, which was coaching. And
do you think all that you went through, like along the way with like going through all the different schools, like the drafts and everything, do you think that kind of attributed to the depression and anxiety and whatnot?
Yeah, 100%. So going through, obviously having the opportunity to get drafted once, that's hard. Twice, harder. 3 times. Like, I had people talking like, you got drafted 3 times and you never played pro baseball? And I'm like, it's how the cookie crumbles, man. Like, I couldn't even explain how that works. Like, I'm trying to sign a contract, and it just either there wasn't enough roster spots, they didn't have any money left to give, especially in the later rounds when you get drafted. So it was just unfortunate situations, and then dealing with coaches, and then dealing with injuries. It was like everything that I thought could happen when I was my high school year of signing a contract that I should have signed all happened, right? So it was kind of weird, but all coming back down the road, came back home to play with the Braves, and then Luckily, I had guys like Randall and Damchuk, who are a little bit older, who had been through the process. They're done their career. They got families now. They're settled down here. And they took me in like a little brother, right? So I appreciate those guys big time. They were really nice. They took me around. They drove me to games. They kept my head in a better space. And they would always boost me up. And I started hitting the ball like no tomorrow. Like the best I've ever hit the baseball in terms of like always consistently squaring it up was probably with the Sarnia Braves, just because it didn't have no pressure. There was no need to worry about a scout in the stands or stuff, which you really shouldn't worry about. But as a kid growing up, you still think about it. It's hard to not. So anyone who can be fully in the moment and enjoy the moment and the process, man, you're gonna go somewhere big. And that's
would you say your most fun time you had in your career was with the Braves?
It's part of it. I definitely had some fun times, of course, through the rest of the journey with some big games, or knowing some guys I played with. That we had some fun times in like Florida, or on our fall trips and stuff, playing schools. But I would say with the Braves, especially winning eliminations, that was a crazy thing. It was. I think all the pieces of the puzzle worked that year. One, I was at a point where I was hitting the ball well.
That was right before the world shut down. You guys are still the champions, right?
We are still the champions. Sarnia Braves are number 1 in Ontario.
Yeah.
So, awesome. Unfortunately, at the time, we didn't think anything other. We were just like, we were going to just go play. Whatever happens, happens. This is our year. This is our shot. We had a couple extra arms that were really good throwers for us that could get, some key teams like the Windsor Stars or, Tecumseh, Mississauga, like the teams that typically go to elims. We had to get through them. Yeah. So we beat Etobicoke, we beat Mississauga, we beat Windsor, we beat Strathroy, we beat all the big teams in the tournament, and we only ended up losing one game to Aaron. Was it Arundel? No, we ended up losing to what was it? It was in the finals, anyways, because we were undefeated. They had to beat us twice. It was one of those kind of things. So first game, we ended up coming down to like a 1-1 game or something like that, or a 2-1 game. And we ended up bringing Damchuk back in, or left him out there kind of thing. One of those. He was the starter or something. Yeah. And sure enough, we should have pulled him, and he left the ball, and guy cranks one in and scores the run for them to win, because I think they were home first game or something. And that was kind of like everyone ears turned open, and it's like, oh crap, now we got to play a second game. So everyone's now sitting on the bench. It's like everyone's quiet all of a sudden, and it's like, hey, and now this is the time where you wake up. This is the time where you show up, right? You don't get quiet now. This is where we come together and grow. So it was like a 1-1 game, and we ended up winning off of a pass ball walk-off where a guy on third base, I think it was Mackenzie Maxwell.
I remember seeing the video. I still got goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah. And the pitcher, what happened was the catcher, it was literally like maybe just off the plate, and the catcher just didn't catch it. Like he just kind of like did one of these lazy, and it just went whoop to the backstop, and he hucked it home. And I was literally screaming on the bench, because we're 1-1. The few of the guys that were in the top of the lineup, we did our job for the day. We got on, scored a few times, whatever. And, we're in the middle to later in the lineup where guys at times were a little bit, up and down in how they're hitting. And we're going up with the approach sometimes where we're just swinging the swing. And it's like, have an approach, please. Like, don't swing at the first pitch in certain situations, and understand when to take a pitch, right? So it was like, there was moments where I got fired up, and I'm screaming at guys on the bench to like, this is the moment, dude. We're going to win a limbs right here. And you guys are sitting here quiet. You're like, hey, here we go. I'm like, get in the game. So down the road, the guy who was not the cheerleader, all of a sudden now I'm becoming the biggest cheerleader, and realizing that it made the team better. So again, a part of lessons on the road, right? You get better as you grow. And luckily for me, I learned from mistakes and stuff, which all of us, we make mistakes, but if we learn from it, that's the next level, right? That's where we upgrade our mindset, and we get better as a person, and it makes everyone around us better, because nobody wants to be around a negative Nancy, right? Nobody wants to be there. So positive energy and being good teammates, no matter where you're at, work, the gym, or anywhere, it makes everything better. And then when you do enjoy things with everyone can be a team better together. So yeah, it was goosebumps for me. Everyone stormed the field, and we jumped and went crazy. But then we go to nationals, and it was like everyone's going here for a picnic. Like, we got guys bringing 2 4 cases on the bus. We got guys bringing jars of weed on the bus. And I'm just like, like, nothing wrong with some of those things, but like, again, what's the purpose of what we're going here for, right? Like, in what world are we going to go this far? We're going to take a bus for 20 something hours to go take our one chance to win nationals. Cause to go through Tecumseh, Windsor, all these teams, that doesn't happen on an everyday basis.
No,
you got to really beat them to get there. So to put all the pieces of the puzzle like that together and then get there and then go out there and kind of have like this flat energy mentality. I ended up going out there and I hit really well there too. We all started a little slow. Long bus ride, you're still feeling out the competition. Arms are definitely better. Guys are bringing the best from each province. So it was a little bit of the pressure. We lost first game to Nova Scotia, who ended up going to the finals. So they were a very good team. Yeah. And then we ended up beating Quebec, which was, hey, Ontario, we beat Quebec. That's a big game. And then we ended up going almost to like crazy game with Manitoba, where we kept going up on them, and then they would hit a home run, and then like I hit a home run, and then someone else would score, and then I'd hit another home run, and then they'd hit a home run.
Wow.
And we ended up losing like I think 11-10 to Manitoba, which knocked us out. And we had lost the game to one of the home teams from New Brunswick as well. So we only got to play, I think, 4 games or so. It was cool. I got to be in the home run derby. I definitely should have won it. I was over swinging, and I was trying to hit the ball way too hard. I almost killed like 2 people in the foul line, on the left field foul line, hooking balls to the left.
That's hilarious.
But again, it was all a cool experience. It was nice to be out east. That was the first time I'd ever went out there. So it was cool to see Hopewell Rocks and the whole thing with the tide moving out for like, man, it's crazy how much the tide moves out there. I never realized how much it was. So having some lobster out there and stuff. So overall, it was a cool experience, but I wish we could have made more of it. Maybe brought a little more gusto, a little bit more like, hey, we're here to win something, and not kind of like we're just here to show up. So that was the only downfall of that, but hey, still make the best of what we could and make the positive. We did win a limbs, and that's a good feat, because I know a lot of teams were like, oh, Tecumseh's not here, like it's going to be a soft year for Ontario. So that's how we were getting talked about when we got there. So already teams were kind of writing us off and all that stuff, like Sarnia, who the heck's Sarnia, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun to have that chip on our shoulder for that. And yeah, it was just a fun time to get out east at least, and then just have some baseball in the summer and spend some good times. It was still good memories, had some good laughs and all that stuff, and saw some cool places. But that would be the only thing. And then now, yeah, this season, I know the Braves, I had told them that I wasn't, going to commit to the season with all the lockdown and all this stuff. Like I had family around me that are a lot elderly, and I didn't want to expose them to something or anything like that. And
of course, because especially at the start of this, we didn't know like what was going on, right? And
nobody really knew.
Backpedaling on all you said there with the positivity and just keeping the right mindset through everything. It kind of pedals towards what I want to talk to next with you, because I don't want to take too much more of your time tonight. It's almost already been an hour, and I appreciate you joining me, man.
No worries, buddy.
It's great to reconnect. I know I was working at the mall last year, and I ran into you at Sport Check, right. And it was like, it's just good to reconnect with people from high school. But moving it on to like talking mindset and positivity, I kind of want to talk a little bit about what you're up to now, because I know that you've been a fitness trainer as well with Good Life Fitness, but this whole pandemic kind of threw a wrench at everybody, I think. Do you want to maybe tell us a little bit about what your plans are and what you're up to now?
Yeah, so because of everything going on, I had already had in the back of my head, I wanted to run my business. That was always in the back of my head going through school. And I always wanted to be in fitness, coaching along that lines. And then as mental health and mental toughness were a part of my journey that I had to really deal with, I felt there was a lot more people who could be helped with the same issues, not just in sports, but in life as a whole, especially as now we can see how big mental health is such an issue, unfortunately. Oh, yeah. And it's something that we all should come together and try to help each other with, right? So for me, seeing that with all these lockdowns coming, I ended up seeing, I'm scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, and I'm seeing all these, online trainers, making videos about how much money they're making and blah, blah, blah. And I never, ever want to do that for money. It's just something I enjoy. It's a passion. I love fitness. Right. I love being, fit and helping people do the same. So I had been brainstorming of ideas of something I could, come along with that would be my business. And at first I had a different name for it, and I'm doing this. And I'm like, when you brainstorm, there's always different ideas. Oh, yeah. So over time, I put together, an idea, and I was, talking to other people around me and my circle, and kind of, seeing what they thought about it. And they're all like, yeah, man, like this is a time, if there's any time to go virtual and go online and do stuff, now is the time. So of course I put together everything I could and really made sure I had my content together and made sure, I got my certifications I needed over the year of being with Good Life, making my nutrition and all that type of stuff. Yeah. And now, I'm working towards, I just started Mindset, which is, level up your mindset in all aspects of life, fitness, nutrition, mental health, mental toughness. All of that brings health together, and that will bring mind, body, and soul together, right? So the whole mission is to help people with any of those aspects. So if they want one-on-one training, they can get one-on-one training. If they just need some guidance, they can go on the website, read some blogs, read some information, and get some guidance. And if they're wanting something with them at all times, then we're going to be, I'm working on an app that's almost going to be released hopefully end of January, early February. That's going to have a mental toughness app, which is just pretty much going to have multiple levels of being able to guide people to upgrade and level up their mindset. So it'll start off with a 30-day challenge. You have to go through certain things for 30 days, write a journal, affirmations, smile in the mirror, like just things that make anyone feel better, and get a routine and a consistency, make your bed, do things like that, and get through the process and see how routine and consistency, something I've learned from being an athlete, and how you have to be to maintain performance, and as well how you have to be successful in life. Like if you're at a pretty good job and there's a lot more responsibilities, if you're all over the place with how you're scattered, it's going to make yourself a lot more difficult. You got to have some consistent routine. So that's the process of the one side is a mental challenge where it takes you 3 levels that go up to a 90-day challenge, which is, if you get through the first level, amazing. The second level is really hard. That's where it gets to, getting rid of alcohol, caffeine, fast food, cutting all the bad things out of our body and start focusing on nutrition, workouts, sleep, water, and going through that for 30 days and seeing how the body changes. And then the last part is going into affecting others around us, saying hello to a stranger, holding a door for a stranger. Nowadays, we have automatic doors, but it's just the idea of giving, saying I love you to someone around you, saying hello to, an old friend on social media, or giving some praise to a friend that needs some support or some comfort at the time. So it's just getting people to come out of their shell, which you need to come out of your comfort zone and go to that growth zone, or else you're never going to get better, right? And for yourself or for me, we didn't really grow until we got put in some situations that you're forced to grow, or you're going to stay where you are, right? And I'm sure you're a lot happier now that you can, do your podcast and be free like that, compared to maybe just, sitting around and be like, I'm just going to watch TV and Netflix and just do nothing, right? So
exactly.
You want to share with people, and you want to help people. And at the end of the day, you want to talk to people and see what's in their life and how we can come together, right? So that's the one side of the mindset that I'm really, really pushing for. So everything, the video wise that I'm sharing right now on social media, it's all leading towards all aspects, the fitness, nutrition, mental, but it's getting people built up for this mental toughness challenge that I'm going to be filming a lot of videos. I'm going to be trying to make some really cool content that's going to get people really psyched up and really dove into the process. And hopefully it leads them into leveling up their mindset. And I guarantee if they properly follow the routine and they make these changes and are willing to grow, no matter what they're trying to become or do, they're going to do better at it, just because consistency creates better in anything. It doesn't matter if you're eating, if you eat consistently, even if you have some junk food, but you're eating consistently healthy, you will naturally be healthier. It doesn't matter if you're counting macros or, eating only vegan diet. If you consistently do things properly, you'll grow. So it's leading people in that direction. And of course, it helps with mental health, because a lot of mental health is stemmed from bad nutrition, which leads to hormone issues. It leads to your emotions getting kicked out of whack. And all those things start spiraling, and people think it's other external factors, but realistically, it could be just what you're eating is throwing off your brain. Right. And then other activities of being on our phone too much before we go to bed, or not drinking enough water. All these things can change how our body works. And this whole app and website and service that I'm providing is all just to teach people how to go about their business in a more professional way, but how to treat their body in a more humane way that's more natural to what we're meant to be here. And we're all one family. So anything we learn, I'm just trying to share. So from all my experiences along the road, I'm trying to bring it all together into the things I love and the things I've grown and known over time and learned, and give it back to everyone. And hopefully it takes off. And I believe it will.
Man. Actually, absolutely. After hearing your story today, like, and we've known each other for a long time. Like I want to say like we were 6-7 years old playing baseball SMAA back in the day. After hearing your story, I didn't know much of this, obviously, because after high school, and I had forgotten actually that you took off to Toronto in grade 11. I totally forgot that until you mentioned it. And then it all kind of just came back to me. But like after hearing your story and all like everything you've been through, I think you're totally on the pathway of like something that's going to be really great, man. And like,
thanks, man.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to seeing everything that Mindset Level Up comes to. Like, where'd you get the idea from it?
So
just the Instagram scrolling?
No, well, the mindset thing I had, again, I'm brainstorming with different people, and I'm thinking of with nowadays, people are very, they're fast scrollers. You got to get people's attention, and you got to keep it simple. You got to keep it to the point. So I had thought about, I have a personal training page on Facebook called Diamonds in the Rough. So I had always been told you're a diamond in the rough. So that's why in my head, I had rolled with that and pitched off that idea of, you're a diamond and we're just going to mine you out of the process. And you're just in the rough. We're going to make you shine again. So that's what I had before. And I'd already had that rolling. So I did some private coaching. I'd been coaching with the Braves, did camps and coached kids. And I would roll with that as the idea. But as I rolled along, I wanted to kind of revamp it and make it something that was a little bit more focused in on a niche of something. And that's where I got mindset. And I was like, the whole thing kind of came to me where, mindset, like it's something people say all the time. It's something people that understand, they don't have to think about something off the page. It's just like mindset. If you level up your mindset, how many things can you change in your life? You can elevate your life to new heights, right? And that's the whole idea, is just giving you the tools, giving you a shortcut instead of taking the long road that I had to take, and a lot of tears and a lot of pain and going to being in a hospital at times, to learn what is the best way for us to grow in ourselves. Everyone's different. So everyone's going to maybe want something different genetically for their nutrition, based on how they grew up, where they're from. So everyone's different, but we all have similar traits. We all want compassion. We all need those types of things, and we all want support. So this is just a big support community. And
especially in times like this, it's something that
I hope everyone goes up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll have a YouTube channel. Hopefully down the road, we'll be talking again for sure. And it's all through mindset. It's Higher Mindset is the link for everything. The E in the higher is a 3 for all the at names.
I'll post them all the links below in the YouTube and on Facebook. We're not on the Chem Valley Facebook page. We're just on my normal one tonight, but I'll post it in there after.
Definitely.
For people who are watching right now, like where can they find you? Like obviously on all the social media platforms, but where can they contact you if they want to get into contact?
So if they want to contact me, they can go on the website. They can go on highermindset.com. Again, it's spelled the same way with the 3 for the E for higher. And I'll bring you on the website, and you can go contact, and it'll send an email through to my business profile. And from there, we'll be able to communicate, and hopefully I can help you in anything you're looking for. If you just need someone to talk to, I'm not here trying to take money from this. This is something that, I believe that if you genuinely help people with a passion, those things take care of themselves, right? So I'm out here trying to provide service for the things that helped me in life and that I went through, and I know can help other people. So, feel free to reach out for anything like workouts. I've trained with Olympic coaches. I've trained with Olympic athletes. I've been a professional athlete pretty much. I've trained everything there is possible. I have every, niche. I train a professional football player right now. I've trained university athletes. So anything workouts, I got nutrition. I've lived a nutritious lifestyle for at least 10 years. And honestly, I love being a nutritious person because you wake up with more energy. Your body has a better immune system. Everything you do function-wise feels better. And, with everything going on with COVID, I highly recommend people boost their immune system, because that can be fought off through our own natural immune system. So things of the nutrition, and then the mental health side is from experience I have, things I've learned through taking psychology courses, things I've learned through coaching clients, things I've learned through, people who have mentored me and stuff like that. So that's going to be helping out with mental health, but also how do we get tougher and create mental toughness and create that mindset where it's not the idea of this mental toughness, like say David Goggins, where it's all like, I'm the toughest human being. You can be mentally tough and be turned off in empathy, but a true tough person can still be soft like water, but hard like water. So you have to have the yin and the yang, and you got to have balance. So you got to still have a heart, but you still got to be able to put a little bit of a shield between that and know when to filter out certain people or let go of toxic people, even if they're close to you, right? So it's just guidance in all the aspects of health. And, from there, all I ask is level up.
That's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to all that you do. Send me the app and everything once you got it all started up. Do you have a message for any of the people out there that might be having a tough time with maybe their mental health or just personal health right now during these tough times?
Well, I would say the first thing is don't feel scared to talk about it. The best thing you can do is talk about it, because there's, so many unfortunate events you hear of people who didn't talk about it and it gets too far. So I would definitely recommend talk about it, and talk about it to people who are not going to go talk about you or something like that. Talk to people who you trust and who you can get good advice from, sound advice. Sometimes it's something you might not like, but it's something you need to hear, right? So getting that type of advice from people and support, but as well, try and just, eat better food as a whole. Like, we all know what good food is. We understand, the colors of the rainbow of fruits and veggies and eating proper portion meals. Just take one step at a time and focus on today. Like, all you can do is control today. If I make the best of today, tomorrow will make itself anyway, right? So all I have to do is make my bed today, focus on what I can control today, and everything else in the future will pan out. And I think that's a big issue, is we have so much anxiety because we're so focused on the future. We're so stimulated about such and such, or I don't look like so-and-so, or blah, blah, blah. And then because it doesn't pan out how we want, we get depressed. And it's this big circle back and forth. So from someone who's been through the circle at the extreme level, take it one step at a time, just breathe, relax. Sometimes just go for a walk in nature without your phone, without anything. Observe how much things we have and understand to be a little bit more grateful at times. I think being in where we live here, sometimes we forget how much we have. And when you realize how much you do, you completely forget about all the other crap we don't have. So remember what you do have, enjoy the moment, and appreciate everyone you have around you. And, from there, one step at a time. It doesn't come overnight, but I guarantee if you consistently try to plan and work towards that effort, you're going to level up, and you're going to one day be someone who's happy and shining and spreading that joy and love to help others as well. So just enjoy the process and take your time and enjoy the journey. Life is a journey. And, if we try to make it a destination, by the time we get to 60, 70, 80, if we're fortunate to get there, we're going to look back and say, I wish. And regret is the worst thing to eat. So I would say make the most of every day. And if there's that person around you that you need to say I love you to, say it. Because, even though it's something that we forget and, we don't want to admit to being soft or something like that, it's this idea we got to be tough. The idea of toughness is someone who can be soft and someone who can be resilient. So all the best to everyone out there. And I hope that everyone keeps spreading that joy and that love and help each other around us in the community and level up.
That's awesome, man. I love your positivity and how everything's kind of connecting into mindset, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what it becomes. Hopefully we can do this again sometime, and hopefully once things open back up again, we can get together, and even, who knows, maybe we can just go for a bike ride one day.
Hey, man, I'm always down for that, man. I know we're going to connect again for sure. It's kind of like destiny works in a weird way. So I appreciate you having me out here. And I appreciate everyone who took their time to even take part in watching this. And I hope I could spread a little bit of something towards everyone. And it's always nice to talk to you, man. I've always enjoyed all of our conversations and our time we've hung out growing up. So, hopefully to the better and more to come, and looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Julian. I love your positivity and mindset. Level up.
Level up, boys.
Absolutely. Take care, Julian. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, man. You as well, buddy.
Thanks so much for taking the time, man.
No problem. Anytime.
Take care. All right, so that was Julian Service joining me for episode number 14 of the Chem Valley Show, day number 17 of the lockdown here in Ontario. Everyone just stay positive and be good to each other. We're going to get through this, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another episode. Have a great day.